I love hot seats because what that means is you get to ask me questions, put me on the spot. We do have a theme for today's hot seat, which is my idea for my book a good book idea, which is something that I hear daily, if not multiple times a day. So my answer is usually yes, and perhaps we need to tweak it. You know, sometimes it's the way that we communicate our message around that idea that needs tweaking. But I firmly believe in my heart that when we get a book idea, it's because we were meant to write it. And that because we have the idea, we have the power to do that. So that's a belief that I live by. So Toshi, I'm so glad that you're here. Toshi and I met at the Perennial Bestseller Retreat. Was it 4 years ago now?
Oh, it's a long time ago. Yeah, maybe 4 years.
4 or 5 years ago with Michael Port and Mike McAllowitz. And you put your book on hold, right?
Yeah, until just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. So,
after your webinar, the last webinar.
Oh, because you were in, it wasn't a webinar, it was a writing sprint marathon.
Right? Oh yeah, right. Writing script marathon, right.
Yeah, you were sprinting with all of us, about 65 of us actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went from the sprint to 157,000 words.
What? So how did you start out though?
Well, I did a 2-day workshop based on my book, and I recorded it, and then I had it transcribed. Then I pasted it all into one Word doc.
Yeah.
So it's 157 words, but there's a lot of ums and, jokes and things like that. So I hope to get it down to 175,000 or so.
Yeah. So I was going to say, for reference, in publishing, we use, until the book is done, we use words. We don't say how many pages, we say what's the word count.
Okay.
So that's approximately 2 books in your space.
No, it's only one. Really, it's just a lot of fluff in it. So I got to cut out a bunch.
So one question that I'm going to let you ask me questions. You submitted to me some information which we'll share with the group here.
Okay. Yeah.
But this is your chance to ask me questions, and then just for everyone else, we'll do that for about 20 minutes, and then I'll open it up to general questions from everybody. One thing I want to make note of is that one of the rules I have in Top 3 Book Workshop is about feedback. So when we offer feedback to authors, we only offer positive comments and then questions. So let me handle constructive criticism. If you have something you want to share, please keep it positive or frame it in a form of a question, okay? And feel free to put questions in the chat, which we can, we'll pick up later as they come to you, okay? So Toshi, one of the things we talk about in workshop is that a book is not about something, it is for someone. So you've identified your ideal reader. Why don't you share with us, who are you writing for?
Okay. Can I share my screen and show what I wrote?
What submitted to me?
Yeah, what I submitted to you. I can share that if you want, or yeah, I'll do that. Okay, so let's see if I can find it. Here it is.
Okay. I have it. I can share it if you don't have it.
I've got it here, I think. Here we go. Oh, no, there it is. Okay, here it is. Okay, so how do I do this now? I just have to move this over, move all the nice pictures off to the side, and now somehow I have to move this thing down. Oops, whoa. Okay, here we go. So I want to share this with, I've worked with about 2,000 of these folks, these corporate managers, people in big companies, and they run non-financial areas like marketing, IT, HR, sales, that sort of thing. And I want to write a book for them because they really suffer because they don't know finance. They've been avoiding it their whole life. They feel put upon by the finance people, the Department of No. And these are kind of their pains and their the types of things I want to alleviate for them.
Right.
So,
I'm glad that you have it in their voice, which is really essential. So when in workshop, we do a reader profile, and these are the core elements of that. So I love, and it's important that we're using phrases and language that they would use. Yeah, so good. Moving on. You want to share the core
so
message?
did I get the right idea of what an ideal, I wanted to work with your classification of ideal reader, core message, and promise. So
Yes.
is this ideal reader, did I get the right idea?
Yes. So your ideal reader is, it's not just an avatar. That's the important thing. Most people, when they think of ideal reader, they think of a demographic, and then sometimes they do the avatar homework, which is what kind of movies do they like, and all of these. I don't think that's helpful here. It's really just about the demographics. So here you have corporate managers already successful in their non-financial function, and then it's what they're looking to change. They have a challenge or a problem with these type of books, right? So
Right.
they believe that learning to speak finance will overcome a career roadblock. So the problem is a career roadblock, and accelerate job success. So excellent. You did a great job. Yeah.
And there's a lot of folks who don't really feel finance is a career roadblock. Usually they're individual contributors or they're content experts, subject matter experts. And then, but once they're managing managers or managing managers of managers, then they have budgets, and then they have, projects they have to justify and all that stuff. So then finance becomes a gap in their career. So that's a specific kind of corporate manager.
Right. And so your core message to them?
Right. Okay. Core message is, let's see if I can move up a little bit. Yeah, this is the hardest one for me. I didn't really know if this was it, but I believe that finance is not like a technical, body of knowledge. It's a language, and that a non-financial manager doesn't have to learn all about finance. It just has to learn how to say a few things that's important at what I call the moments of truth, when they open their mouth and have to explain their results or present their plans or report their performance. They just need the language and the confidence to use that language at those moments. And so that's my message to them, is that this, finance is just a language. It's just a language about what you are already expert at. So you don't have to know more about business. You just have to translate what you know into a financial language, the financial language of your leaders.
That's great. Yeah. And I you know what I want to say? This is the same message you had for 4 years ago.
Yeah. So, in my TED talk or whatever done for you.
Well, and don't forget that I saw at least you sent me a lot of those transcripts. Do you remember?
Oh yeah, I think so. Right. Yeah. You bashed me many times, and I survived and came up with something something more to the point.
Did you say bash?
Yeah, I did. No, I'm exaggerating.
Yeah,
You were very nice about it.
I'm affirming you, actually. I want to affirm you.
Yeah.
4 years later, this is still your message.
It is. It is. Yeah.
And so that's one way, Toshi, when people wonder, is my book worth doing? This is still a need. This is still a message people need to hear. Obviously, the answer is yeah, you need to do this book. And you also know that it works, right? Because you've been teaching it.
Yeah, I've been teaching it, for 20 years, 30 years now, though. 88 to now is 31 years. That's crazy.
It is crazy, but it works. So let's look at that core message. I think, a strong core message is one that's informs the reader with a transformational concept that if they just understand that, and they don't even read the rest of the book, that they could actually make a change. And so I think what you said, or you didn't write this, but you said finance isn't a tech something. It's not
technical body of knowledge.
Right. So I think your core message is closer to finance is not a technical body of knowledge. Finance is a language.
Oh, okay.
Right. And you only need to know, maybe you have a percent, or you only need a rudimentary amount, or you only need a base knowledge. Well, how would you qualify it? How much language do I need to know the language of finance? What would you say?
Out of, it's, I would say 50% of what you need is not financial. It's just a connection between non-financial things you do and what your leaders are looking for. That's all you need. And to understand that, you just need to understand what your leaders are trying to accomplish financially, and then how to put your activities in their language. So you basically need, I don't know, 10% of what they teach in an MBA, in 3 courses of an MBA program, like financial accounting, managerial accounting, and corporate finance. You probably need only 10% of that.
Okay. So then a core message could be finance does not require a technical body of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Finance is a language, and you only need to learn 10%.
Actually, maybe 5%. 5%.
Better.
You'd actually even less than that, really. It's kind of like when you, in my talk, I said, when you go to France, you only need to know how to order a meal, or tell the taxi driver where to go, and find the toilet.
Yes, and
That's all you need.
I remember that from the content from years ago. So your content is memorable, Toshi. But
You remember it.
If I'm a reader,
Uh-huh.
I'm nervous about this, all those pain points that you've listed there above.
Uh-huh.
And I get to find out that not only is it not a technical body of language or body of knowledge, but it's a language, and I really only have to learn less than 5% of it to be effective.
Uh-huh. Yep.
That's a powerful core message, because I don't know what that language is yet, but it shifts my mindset. So I no longer believe I need an MBA to do this.
Right.
I no longer believe that this is something I can't do. I no longer will avoid these conversations. So automatically, you've shifted and created a transformation, even with just hearing the core message and not reading the book. And that's what we're going for, is a core message that helps readers understand what the book is about, but that it's for them, but that also will inspire change on its own.
Uh-huh.
So that fits the bill.
Okay.
So did you get the core message? We refined it. You got it down. And this recording will be available should you need it.
Great.
Okay, so let's
then the promise.
Yeah.
I promise, after reading this book and doing the exercises, you will understand and be able to speak just the finance you need to be more confident, persuasive, and promotable.
Oh, confident, persuasive, and promotable. That's a good promise. So why do we talk about core message and promise? Because we need this clarity so that we can write the book. And in your case, Toshi, you really need the clarity, because the ideal reader, the core message, and the promise becomes the filter so that you can decide, of your 57,000 words, what are you going to keep?
Right.
It becomes a filter, and this is how it works. You ask yourself 3 questions. Does this content help me connect to the reader? Meaning, they want to feel seen. They want to feel understood, right? So there's some content that we include that's just for that function. It's not instructive. It's just to connect. Number 2, does it support my core message? Meaning, does it help you make that case, prove that it's right, show them how to do it, right?
Oh, I see. So I have to say, the core message is, you already know this stuff, and here's an example, and that proves you don't really need to learn a lot of stuff. You just have to translate what you know, kind of thing, right? You're saying prove the core message.
Your content should prove that you're correct and show people what you mean.
Got it.
Right? Provide clarity around the core message, prove the core message. And then there's the promise, and you need to deliver on it. So that's why we don't say a promise is about 10 years from now. Why do we say by the end of this book? Because the promise is what transformation is possible if they read your book and do the things you tell them to do. Not just read it, but do the stuff. So when you just look through your content, does it help you connect to them? Does it help you clarify and support your core message? And will it help you deliver on the promise? And to deliver on the promise means not only do they have to understand what you're saying, but they need to be able to apply it.
Okay, got it.
Right?
You
And
need to
so
apply it.
if your content gets a yes on one of those three questions, does not have to be all, can just be one, then it's worth including or at least considering. If it doesn't, it does not belong in the book. So for you, this is especially relevant because you have so much.
Yeah, I got to cut out a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So you need to consider, what do I really have to give them in order to deliver on that promise? What do I really have to give them? There's a difference between what they need and what you want to share. Fortunately, you've been teaching. And so you have a sense of what they need because you've been testing it. You've been testing your content and seeing what works for them and what results they get.
Right. Yeah, the reason I could get it down to 160 words, including the fluff, was I took a 5-day program and then taught all that material in 2 days. So I had to drop a ton of stuff. And that's partly why the book never happened, was I was trying to get 5 days into a book, which is impossible. Even 2 days is kind of tough. But it got me really in touch with what is the core of getting, the content across and provide the transformation.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you to stop sharing the screen because we've been through this and I want to give you a chance to ask me a bunch of questions, but I also want to offer something to you. Are you familiar with, because you just said you just need a few phrases. You likened it to where's the bathroom?
Right.
Yeah. So are you familiar with Phil Jones and he wrote Exactly What to Say?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Phil Jones?
Yeah, so check out Phil Jones. He wrote, his first book in the series was Exactly What to Say. And it's a small little book. I would run and get it, but it's downstairs and you don't want to see me winded right now. It's a little book. Toshi, you could never do a little book like that with all the content you have. But the reason that I wanted to point it out is he's got actual language. Say this, say this, say this. So I'd like for you to think about that as an inspiration for you.
Okay, that sounds great. Is that I think he was published by one of the people you recommended.
He was published by Page 2, yeah.
Yeah, Page 2, right. I saw that title and I thought, wow, this sounds related to, I mean, he's talking about other stuff, but not finance, but yeah. So Page 2, right. Okay, I'll pick up the book. Did you help edit that one?
I did not.
Oh, okay. Cool, but it's related, right? Because I could be very practical, like in this situation, say it this way. In fact, that's how I teach. I tell them, repeat after me or write this down exactly the way this is and just fill in the blanks.
Readers want to understand why, to understand the power of it, but they really also just want you to feed them stuff sometimes, Say this, don't say that. Try this, don't try that. You don't have to be bossy about it, but it's just very helpful to say, now, here's some phrases, keep track of those.
Right.
There are people in this room right now, Indrani's here. Her book is anywhere near your readership. She's got writing for people who are dealing with domestic violence. However, she does say, give examples of things you can say and things you can do.
And I say it's a script. You memorize it and you never veer from it.
Yeah. So that applies almost no matter which book you're working on. If you can explain it, show it, prove it through story and other social proof, and then also just pull out the essential, say this, try that, that's so helpful for readers because remember, we want to deliver on the promise. So we don't want to make it like a treasure hunt for them to try and find those little gems. We want to make it simple.
Got it.
So for you, that could be phrases at the end of a chapter where all you do is list the phrases. It could be an appendix with just scripts, you know?
Uh-huh.
And there are a lot of different ways you could do it, but check out Phil Jones just as an inspiration point for you.
Got it. Thank you so much.
So
Okay, I'll sign off this. I'll stop.
Oh, I
sharing.
already did it.
Oh, you did? Okay, great.
So tell me, what are some questions that you have for me that would be would help? I'm on the hot seat, so you ask me whatever you might want to ask me.
Okay. Is shooting for 75,000 words kind of a good milestone?
For you, yeah. I mean, I would be happy if you got it down to 85.
Okay.
But books have gotten shorter. For business books, which this falls in line with the business book, 10 years ago, we were all getting Big 5 contracts that required 85,000 minimum word submission. Now that number has gone down to 55 or 60.
Uh-huh.
So it's a number of factors: reading, attention span, demands of the marketplace, paper costs, which are margins are everything in publishing. An extra 2 pages in a book can cost a lot of money. So,
okay.
So there's factors, but for your book, if you can get it down to 85, then through the editing process, you can get it down further.
Okay.
You can get a first draft down to 85. I bet you could knock off another 10,000 just in the editing process.
Got it. Okay. Can I ask you a question about illustrations in the book?
Sure.
Okay. So can I share my screen again?
Sure.
Okay. Share. Okay. So these are 4 pictures that I use that kind of capture a lot of what I teach.
Mm-hmm.
Book has, and they are metaphors. Like this one is a metaphor about creating value, not just a transaction, sell an apple, but plant and nurture an apple tree. That's an asset which has value.
Mm-hmm.
And then value goes up with growth and goes down with risk. And then this is sort of how a business makes money, and then this is how a business operates. Mm-hmm. So I'm just wondering how much, I've got like probably 500 slides, and how much can I use these kind of illustrations in the book? So
you can use illustrations to your heart's content, Toshi. What you want to use them for is if you really need them, because we're putting the reader first. We're thinking of the reader first above all. So will this be super helpful in processing the information you're sharing? Then please include it. Can they get it without the graph with no problem? Then probably not necessary. So it's different when you're at an event and you have your slides that are helping you with your presentation.
Right.
In a book, we often want graphics when we're sharing complicated processes. That is so helpful to readers who people learn differently and process information differently, but it's not always necessary. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So it's okay to, most books that I look at that are in the competition don't have a lot of pictures, don't have a lot of numbers either, just a lot of words. And that's not how I teach. So it's sort of hard for me to think about writing a book without a lot of
okay,
useful
so Toshi, if it's hard for you, then we always want to do the easiest, the path of least resistance. Okay.
Okay.
Hard for you, use them. Use all of them. Use all of them you feel comfortable with. And then part of the editing process will be, okay, do I need it or do I not need it? Don't make it hard on yourself to get that first draft done.
Okay. And then the next question, at the sprint, you talked about 4 color is really expensive.
Yep, it is.
So these kind of illustrations make it an expensive process, right?
Yeah. However, you might be able to alter them so that the colors are not necessary. You might be able to use grayscale or something else that would help you. So you just need to work with the designer. I'm gonna, are we good on the share screen now? I wanna,
Yeah, we're good
Okay.
on the share screen, yeah.
okay. Let me just, yeah, so I would for now, go ahead and if you have a graphic and it's
Yeah.
helping you, whatever's helping you to get that first draft done, you just need to do that thing.
Make it easy to get that draft done, yeah.
First
I got
draft
it.
is the hardest.
Right.
So just get her done. What about?
Yeah, thank you so much. You know what, the things you said about the reader and what the reader needs, if I can just remember that every day before I start writing,
Yeah.
then I can come from the same place. I'm trying to be helpful. I'm trying to hold their hand and create a transformation in their life.
Yes.
Right? And I just need to say enough to do that. I don't need to show how smart I am or something like that.
Yes,
Right?
Toshi. First of all, Toshi, we know you're smart. We got
not smart enough. But yeah, no, it's
just
helpful.
put those. Just ask yourself that. Just put it on your desk. The 3 questions. Does it help? Does this serve my reader? Does this serve my reader? My students, and Johnny is one of them. They can probably or say that in their sleep. You know, if I touched them on the shoulder while they were sleeping and whispered in their ear while they
Does
were
it serve my reader?
Serve my reader.
But it works because it helps you make decisions that your monkey mind is usually in charge of. That's judging whether or not something is good enough.
Yeah.
And that's also thinking, oh, I should be clever. I should be more interesting. I need to be different than everyone. None of that matters because all that matters is that your reader experiences the transformation you promised.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
AJ, may I say something?
Yes, and Johnny.
I was right where you were, Toshi. I know so much about violence and I want to save the world now and it must end yesterday. And AJ said, well, if you do all that, they won't read the book. So it's too much. Okay. I really what do I want? Well, I want them to read the book and I want them to at least do 5 things from the book, if not all of the things. So I better be clear and simple. What do I want? I want them to help themselves to stop violence. That was it.
Yeah.
She had to slap me around for a couple of months.
She's good at that.
You said bash, and I went, yeah, it is bashing.
We love you, AJ.
I do love you.
I can tell. So I want to thank you, Toshi. And if you have one last question, I'm happy to answer it. No?
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
I got some momentum now.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. And I want to open it up. We have just for a few more minutes. If you have general questions, if anybody has something around, should I even try this book idea? I don't know. Anybody have a question or any other publishing question is fine. Just try me.
I feel like Elena may have some questions. I'm going to put Elena on the hot seat, but don't feel compelled. But
oh yeah, you can also message me privately if it's something you really don't want to share here. We can't hear you, Elena, but I would love to hear you. I think you're muted. Or if you can't.
Maybe her wire isn't working because she's not muted.
Oh, she's not muted. Maybe it's because you're plugged in. Perhaps.
Do you hear me? It's okay.
Now we can, yes.
Yes. I was just relating to what Toshi said. That also my idea of my book is about being effective, because I'm coming from 20 years of aromatherapy, and now I feel really compelled to write something that works. Not because other people are not doing this, but just to convey my experience and something that works. Yes. So I was just relating to Toshi about this.
Okay, great. Well, I'm glad you got something out of that. Wonderful. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions. As a question. As usual, I've had so many ahas while you talk. I have a question. What is the difference between ideal client and ideal buyer? It's the same. I'm not sure how Toshi makes the distinction. And you're on mute. Here, I'll unmute you. I can't. You'll have to unmute yourself.
Oh, there we go. I've had the schizophrenia because the person that hires me to come in the company to teach 25 of their execs is like a business leader that looks at their people and says, I can't trust these people to manage, you know, millions of dollars of budget because they don't really understand that stuff. And then that's my buyer. And then my participant or the reader and the program participant is the person sitting there who is frustrated because they can't speak language of finance to be persuasive and promotable. So it's really different. My buyer is not the buyer of the book. The buyer of the book is my ideal reader, but the buyer of my program to come in and do 25 people at once, that's somebody else. It's somebody who probably has enough finance and realizes my people don't have enough finance.
Right. Who might buy the book for all of his people or her people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's his own distinction, Ipshita. Good? Okay. Any other quick questions before we are doing 2 more hot seats, and the next we're doing one on the 19th, which I hope you will come to because it is my birthday. And so I would love for people to come to that one to celebrate my birthday with me. And then one on the 26th, we'll be talking publishing path on the 19th, but I'm open to any, you can hit me with any question. Gail says, I have a few ideas and thinking I should try getting some blogs written before I jump into a book. I'm struggling with narrowing focus. Okay, I'm going to be straight with you, Gail. And I think, I don't know how blogging is going to help you to narrow your focus. I think the process is really understanding who do I really want to serve and who do I want to hang out with for the next few years. And by hang out with, I mean, you are going to have to market to, talk with, and serve the same group of people while you're writing the book, while you're marketing the book, after the book comes out. And I'm a realist, so that's years. So you need to ask yourself, who do I like enough? Who am I passionate enough about serving for a few years? And then then comes the question, what do they need? What is the transformation I can provide? What's something I know that they don't know yet that would be really helpful to them? But start with your people, because otherwise we're just focused on the things we're interested in. But we need to be interested in the people. And then from there, we can write a book that serves them. So blogging, I don't know that blogging is going to help you find your people.
And maybe that's my problem is I'm struggling with that because I work in such a diverse, right now I just came from, I had a meeting in manufacturing. I work with Canadian Mental Health. I work with young people. It's sort of, I'm trying to find that common thread because it's not like, that's my struggle is who are the people? Because I like such a wide range of people that I'm working with.
Okay, so the common denominator, so we get stuck when we think of ideal reader.
Right.
We get stuck on avatars. This is why I don't like using avatars when it comes to reader profile. All of us here have a common thread. Something if we talked for the next half hour, even 10 minutes, we would find something that each one of us feels in common. The circumstances may be different. Where we come from, the families we come from, our means, our resources, those all might be different. Where we live, our professions, but what would unite us would be the same thing that we all have felt at one time. And that thing is the pressing thing, right? Then that unites everyone here in this Brady Bunch photo. That is your person, not manufacturers or mental health professionals. It's the thing that unites those two groups, the secret, wish, and fear that unites those two people. And those are your people. And very often that's rooted in the thing you're helping them change. There's probably some fear or frustration around the thing you're helping them change that unites them. So you're looking for the common denominator not the outward, not the bio. Not the bio.
Okay.
Think of it instead of your reader is not the bio, not the professional bio, it's the secret diary. You know?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm going to work on that. I know where you're going with that I have to find out what is, like, I just recently came across like something around social media and connecting and branding, and everybody often thinks, oh, young people know what social media, but while they know, they don't know how to use it for business. So I've been actually helping more young people how to use, like, and how to use it but connecting, not just going on and using it. How do you actually interact?
Well, Gail, I don't know if you noticed, so we're all going to have problems with connectivity and relationships and all sorts of stuff while we're stuck in our houses for 2 months, and that's going to have a long-ranging effect.
Yeah.
And so I would imagine that there's a lot you could say about that for some time to come.
That did cross my news side. My former journalist part of my brain was going, gee, everything that's happening now is exactly what I said. You don't have to feel isolated because there's so many opportunities to stay connected. You don't have to be isolated in your own home. So you're right. Thank you.
Oh, it sounds a little bit like a core message, but okay. Any other quick questions? We've run over, but you don't seem to mind. I'm happy to. Yes, of course. Yes. Hi. Oh, can't hear you yet.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Hi.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for doing this, especially today. It's good to connect and see faces.
Yeah.
So I've been writing a book for about 1.5 years, and that book is about energy in the body, tracking energy in the body and finding your flow. I have the ability to see energy in the body, and I worked in the fitness industry for over 20 years. And what I started to notice were patterns, people holding energy in the body, and then as they got to know me, they'd reveal traumas that they had and things like that. And so I have been writing this book to teach people how to connect with the energy in their body and then move it for improved health and peace. And I started to think, maybe I should go back to the fitness industry and teach fitness professionals this. So teach the general public or teach fitness professionals. So I wanted to get your point of view on that. Is it better to specialize and go back to the network I came from, or just put it out there to, the general public?
It's both. So I would say use those connections that you have because they are worth a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it is hard to rebuild something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Plus you can test your content on them, and you have a built-in revenue stream that you'll be working on, which is either certification for coaches or some sort of course for coaches or both.
Okay.
So that you can have built-in monetization of your book, which will be really helpful for you beyond seeing your own clients. So you can be training fitness professionals to be certified in this work that you're doing while you also have a mainstream book, which is helpful to them because that brings clients to them who want fitness trainers who are certified in what you do. You can have a good model for that is Mike Michalitz's Profit First Professionals. He has the book Profit First, and then he has a company that connects people who are looking for someone like that. You don't have to go to that extreme. You could just have a page on your website where you're listing all of your certified folks that people can find them in their area and people can pay a fee to become certified. And then you also have the mainstream book, so you can go speak about that and help as many people as possible to do it on their own.
Okay.
So I would do both, actually.
Okay. Great. Yeah. Because I see, a lot of people now think it's like only yoga that allows you to get in touch with the energy in your body and move it. And really it's everything. I always say every squat is holy. Every squat is sacred because you can really move energy in your body using any movement at all.
Well, I don't know about everyone else here, but I want to know about how to move energy in my body.
Yay.
That sounds really cool. And yet another thing we can do at home while we are quarantined.
Exactly.
I'm thinking of my abuse ladies. Wow,
Yes.
talk about energy trapped with abuse. If they could figure out how to use that, I wouldn't have to write my book. So just hurry up already.
Okay. Thank you for the encouragement. I really appreciate it.
Of course. And if anybody here, feel free to come back to the other hot seats. You don't have to feel nervous that if you came to one, You shouldn't come to all. It's fine. I'm here to just help you guys out. Any last questions before we close? Yes, Ipshita.
Hey, thanks.
Hi.
Hi. I'm just still stuck on that buyer and client thing, because that's actually another aha. It's true, because my book would be geared to people who would read and say, hey, talk about this, and also hopefully help people who just pick it up. And so how do you bring both of that into your book?
Well, you don't really. I mean, you just find the common denominator and write to that. And people who think that it will help their teams and their staff, or their friends or their communities will see the use in that and buy it for them. So it's not actually their challenge.
Right. Yeah.
The reader's challenge. So you're always writing for that reader.
Right.
And if a manager or a CEO can affect change by buying some books, they're gonna do it. So you can market to them separately, but the book isn't written for them.
Okay.
Yes, Toshi.
So I'm picturing the book and then a cover letter to the buyer that says, your pain will go away if you buy this book for your people. You know, so that's kind of how the relationship between the buyer. But I want to understand the buyer so that I can not only serve the buyer indirectly, but also, you know, sell it to the buyer.
Yeah, understood. So you aren't writing. So for example, if you were writing a book for teenagers about processing, about dealing with bullying, and it was written for teenagers, you're obviously marketing to parents. You're not actually writing for the parents, but the parents want their kids to read it. So you have to write to the kids and market to the parents. Does that make sense? Yeah, that's not always the case, right? But an example for Indrani's book is individuals will purchase it. That will be people whispering and saying you need to read this book. Maybe not a lot of yelling, maybe some whispering, and a lot of whispers. But then there will also be people who are in mental health communities, abuse prevention, shelters, probably legislators, other people who will also be interested in her book and will buy it either to educate themselves about that community and that experience, and or to provide it for other people. So that's what's called a peripheral readership. It's not the actual reader. It's the peripheral reader who comes upon it because there's something in there they need, or because they want to provide that book to someone else, that transformation for someone else. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure. Any last questions? No? Okay, I also... You're so welcome. And on the 19th and 26th, we have more set up. I'm going to keep doing them because I think they're super fun. I also just want to point out that I do have top 3 book workshops starting again April 13th. If you need more information about it. And then it'll be starting again in September. So this is the chance to do it this spring. I also am really mindful of, Laura and I had a heart-to-heart this morning. And it's just we're just living in an uncertain time. So we don't know where to apply our resources. So I made some changes and changed the payment plan so that instead of 4 pay, you can go up to 12 months to pay for it. Because I really want people who want to do their books, and there are some people who want to do my class, but they're just nervous right now. So if that's something that's interesting to you, I'm extending it to a 12-month payment plan should you need it, and you can let Laura know. And if you want to learn more about the class, you can sign up for a 20-minute with me to talk about your book and learn more about it. Yes, Indrani?
I can, listen, I would never have written the book if I didn't do the class. It was in my head and I thought, yeah, okay, somebody else will write it. And I didn't know who was the buyer and the seller and the client and the whatever. And it was just easier to just do my little work in my own little corner of the world and pretend that it was enough. And then, you know, AJ really showed me that if you really believe your message, and how could you just be doing it in this corner of the world? And it wasn't easy, but she's such a good shepherd.
Oh, thank you. Well, you're getting a taste of what Q&A is like and feedback is like in class, although a lot of the classes, it's all live like this. But I'm still here to just help you out whether or not you do my class. So feel free to come back to the 19th or the 26th, and we're going to keep doing it. So thank you so much for showing up. And if you have follow-up questions, please hit me up.